Welcome to Equity Story Trade Watch, Friday, the 12th of May, last day of the week. So we're going to have a look at some charts, of course. We're going to have a look at some announcements, what happened last night. But before we do that, Equity Story disclaimer in front of you. Everything we talk about today is going to be based on general advice, of course, looking at the fundamental set technicals of every story. Let's switch on to what happened last night. And just from, I suppose, the market's performance, we've really not much really has changed from yesterday. I think fairly similar type stuff that we've seen. Markets fairly flat. I think Dow was down about 0.7 or 0.8. Google saved Nasdaq was up slightly. So all in all, status quo, really looking for some direction, I suppose. But you know, there's still issues around, and have they been solved? No. So we've got, for example, the debt ceiling in America. That's coming to a head. Something has to happen, I think, by June. So that's a big risk, of course. We've got still inflationary pressures. We've got the interest prices still going up, unfortunately, even though they're slowed down, and maybe there will be a pause in the US. Inflation coming down, which is a good thing. But you know, it's still slow and probably going to hang around for some time. So that's not a given that we're going to get out of the woods yet. Out of there, then of course we've got the Ukraine Russia war, and unfortunately, well, when I say unfortunately, you know, is there going to be an escalation? We've seen the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, you know, maybe escalation there. We've seen the UK now delivering some longer range weapons to Ukraine. Is that going to escalate it? I mean, that could be a number of issues going through now. Then looking, for example, another thing is China. Looking at some figures out of them last couple of days, or last couple of economic statements, and you know, it's a little bit mixed. So there is nothing really green to hold on to and say to yourself, we're going to go up markets wise. So I think it's sort of going to be going sideways to, you know, maybe down at the moment, looking for that, you know, spark somewhere to come through. And like I said, right now, I think it's just hold on to your good stories. Take profits maybe where you can, and maybe have a little bit cash on the side. But there's no panic yet, because like I said, you know, earlier in the week, the chart's still looking okay. So they still holdings like the Dow, ASX, Nasdaq is actually hitting well highs. Yeah. So, you know, in that sense, that's still going okay. So I'm not too worried from that point of view, but you know, there's still a lot of risks around, and anything can happen, I suppose, in the next couple of months. So nervous, looking at the market, of course, and making sure that we're still going to go okay with our stocks. So commodity wise, is there anything that's getting excited? So I've had a look at gold, of course, which are trading at the moment, some of the stocks, and they have some profit taking over the last few days. And that's come off from about 2050 in the middle of the start of the week to about 2016. Not disastrous, but it's not good, because it'll obviously probably be affecting some of the gold stories. So the gold stories are in a holding pattern, some profit taking on some of these things. So just watch them, play their CTM, of course. You know, have your exit strategies, because that's the most important thing. You don't want to be stuck in stuff that goes below trend lines and then it just keeps going south, and you're thinking to yourself, why didn't I sell earlier? So gold is okay, no problems there. We'll see how it obviously goes over the weekend, but I'm probably going to hold most of the stuff that I've got in gold space for the moment. Some of the other stuff I'm looking at, so copper was down slightly as well. So for me, you know, the commodities themselves, the base metals, maybe not a great place right now. We've got copper at 369, so that's below 4 per pound. If you look at some of the other stuff, lead's also going down, and you can see, you know, for the week down 3%, 3.5%, 3%, nickel down 9%. So you can't look at, for our markets to be saved by BHP, the Rios, the S32s, because it's not obviously looking that great on the commodity front. All right, so let's move on to some of the announcements this morning. So again, I'll flip the screen for you guys so you can see exactly what's going on there. And we'll have a look at some of these announcements. So one that I saw yesterday come through was a company that I've actually haven't seen before, I haven't actually looked at, and that's called Vysarn, Vysarn, which is code is VYS. They're in the water management side of things for the mining companies out there or explorers. Very interesting company, I have to say. Look, it's pretty small. I think the market cap's under 50 mil. They've had a pretty good announcement yesterday saying that they're going to have net profit before tax up significantly. So you got to respect that, and to yourself, possibly if they are profitable and they're growing the profits of a low base, that will still reflect on their PE ratios. So one to probably trade maybe, if you're looking for it, and the chart looks very, very good actually. So if you're looking at this at the end of the week, which we're almost at the end of it, we've got a few hours to go. But if it finishes like the end of the week, this is definitely for the charts or the technical traders out there a really bullish signal out there for a possible trade from maybe 11.5 if a buyer out there. I'll go a little bit longer. Let's have a look at 3 year, what it looks like. So you've got the highs there, maybe about 12.5, 13, somewhere there I'll be looking at. So maybe 10% out of this. But if it breaks through that 13 cents, then possibly there's blue skies ahead. I mean, it doesn't look too expensive when it's trading on about 44 million market cap. I think 6 million profit before tax. So all up, it looks very interesting. Pretty good space, I would say, where there's a lot of demand for these services at the moment. So one to watch. And like I said, if you like a trade in this, I'm going to talk about it maybe further in Ask the Analyst today. So that's something to look forward to as well. So definitely one to watch, and I like it. So let's see where it takes us. I'm going to have to do a bit more reading about it as well, for sure. Next one, QBE. Let's have a look at that one. It came out with a positive announcement. So it's almost, I suppose for me, looking at, look, obviously the reactions by the market and where I think it is, they could be different because the expectations of the market could be very different for them. I'm just looking at pure what the company's saying here, and they're saying that things are going to improve, right? So it was a good announcement from their point of view. However, I suppose the market's expecting more out of this. They're expecting a be stronger outlook and so on. So I can understand where the market's coming from, but I also understand that QBE is actually in not a bad space at the moment because insurance is actually going okay and improving for them. So this sector is improving. So for me, if it's trending, I'm liking it. And I'm looking at it right now. Obviously, the market reaction is about 5.5% down. For the week is about 6.5% down, but it's still holding trend. So if you're in this, still a hold technically. If you're not in this, if you look at this announcement, we'll be buying. Probably not. I want to probably buy a better chart than this. So I want to see it sort of bounce back and maybe have a little trade on this. So watch list, not for me at the moment, but maybe at a certain time down the future. Let's look at REA. Another one came out with another announcement today from News Corp, and of course, real estate was part of that. Not bad. If you look at just the black and white results today, they all went backwards pretty much. But again, quarterlies are not the game changing for REA. It's all about the full cycle of the year. And for me, REA works it very, very well over the full year and usually grows quite well. So for me, nothing wrong with it. It's probably going to come back maybe to $130 if the market's sort of a lackluster, I suppose. So overall, good story, still a hold for me. I've got no problems if you're in this as a longer term hold. Even if you trade, maybe you'd go, okay, 131 will be my last stop there, or 130 odd, and I might get out. But other than that, I'm holding if you bought it on this candle or something on those lines. So decent results, probably a little bit expensive for me personally, and I'd rather buy it around 130 if I'm looking for the longer term. Let's look at AVH. And AVH had a pretty good run recently. It's growing its revenues. Today's announcement saying it's growing its revenues quite nicely. So overall, it looks decent. The only problem I've got is those costs are going up and up and up and up, which, while the revenues might be going up 40%, I think the costs are going up 20-odd%. So things like, that's looking good. But, some of the costs in there are just mind-boggling, perplexing for me, like basically the admin stuff. 8-9 million for the quarter. I mean, are you serious? Why can't you, try to save some costs in there and get some better cash flows going through? It's obviously lost another 10 million almost in cash outflows this quarter. So they need to really start reining some of these costs in, because it's just going to be looks like for me, a perpetual type growing revenues, costs are going up, and never going to get to that cash flow positive. It's just going to be keep trying to get more cash out of you guys. So I like the company, I have to say, but I just always wonder about these hugely cash burning conglomerates, why they cannot actually look at some of their own operations and go, we can cut costs here, especially in admin, when there's like almost 10 million at a quarter. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how much they've got in admin costs. What are they doing? Where's this money going from? Anyway, look, not a bad chart. So technically speaking, if you bought this on this, it's still a hold for sure. Would I be buying on this? Maybe there's a bit of $5 resistance here, so I know I wouldn't. But if you're in this, maybe there's a profit to be taken or hold, depending where you've put your stop loss, I suppose. And if maybe if I did have a stop loss, I'd put it just below 4. All right, let's look at another one, AGI. So AGI, you know, we had it as in our funds and we liked it. Then we got spooked with that change in government in New South Wales. You know, both sides of the politics we're talking about, they're going to be addressing their pokies issues in New South Wales, which is a big part of the business for AGI. So we go, well, it's just risk there. Let's get out. Even though the company's going quite well and they're updated quite well, maybe it's not the time to just be in this right now when they're talking about legislation, changing legislation and changing some of these rules in New South Wales on the pokies. And God knows how that's going to come out and how the effect's going to be on the company, right? So it's rather be out with the risks than in. So we made a call to get out, I think, on that particular candle, which is fair enough. And even though there was a reversal there, we thought, nah, it's just too much risk still. Let's just wait. And it's trending below. So you should be really out of this for the time being and probably maybe come back when we've got more clarity what's going on there. So not a bad announcement today, but not enough for me to get big because there's still those risks with the government in New South Wales. Let's look at TNE. So they've come out and updated on this cybersecurity breach, and it actually wasn't too bad. So thank goodness, you know, it only, I suppose, didn't penetrate through to their customers and client data, which is good. So it was maybe almost like one of the superficial type attacks. They probably would have maybe tried to steal some sort of data and maybe trying to get some ransom type out of stuff out of TNE. But luckily for TNE, looks like they avoided the worst of it. So the market reaction is actually not too bad. So from that point of view, I'm liking it, and you know, not a bad actually, I suppose, reaction today. So for me, a hold. Thank goodness for that. It's still in the portfolio. We're not going to change anything there. So no, would you be buying maybe? You know, if you sort of, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for the long term, look at that swinging chart. So if you're looking for long term, maybe there's some merit to say, yep, around the 1450, I'd be looking at to accumulate with a view that it's going to bounce and go higher. But for the moment, maybe just let the dust settle and come back next week and see what happens. Last one, ALG. Let's have a look at that one. And, you know, ALG, I suppose, just looks like pretty sick at the moment, right? But the announcement today hasn't been too bad. It actually provided a little bit of clarity, saying that, you know, there is definitely some better performances, but that we're coming into, I suppose, winter season, which means, you know, some of these theme parks are not going to go as well, of course. I mean, understandable. So the market reaction, of course, is going, well, you know, if we're coming into winter season or off season, then maybe this is not best place to be in. You know, we're probably expecting a little bit more out of it, even though it's recovering and it's actually come up with some pretty decent numbers. I can understand from that point of view, but, you know, when you look at the leisure space anyway, it's actually not bad. That they're trading okay. You see, you know, the updates from HLO, FLT, TLH, some of the other, you know, Qantas and some of the other stuff, they've actually reported pretty well. So overall, the leisure center is good, but not everything's created equal. You know, is this one of my favorites? Maybe not. I prefer the HLOs of the world and maybe some of the other stuff. But at least, you know, I'm sort of reassured that the travel and leisure space is actually still going okay. So I'm okay to hold some of the other stuff. All right, so let's have a look at now. I'm going to go to see my watch list to see where we are at, what's actually trending this morning, what's going up, what's going down, to see what we can get excited about. So let's see if there's any of our stuffs going in there. So it's good to see at least Alcidian, even though we got out of it, we sold out. It's good to see it's trying to fight its way back, but it's now, you know, because it finished under 10, now it's sort of bouncing just a little bit above. We're not going to get back into it until it gets back over 13, 14 cents, right? There is, unfortunately, it's just now There's just no momentum in this, even though it's fighting a little bit back. It's just not enough momentum in this, so you just leave it until it comes back to the 40 to be 100% sure. Let's see if there's anything else in there that's making some inroads. IPD, one of our favorite stocks as well. Look at that chart, it's still going up. That looks pretty good again for next week, even though not even though, let's just go maybe, although I would go $4 maybe a bridge too far. So would I be buying? Probably not, but it's still bullish, I suppose. You can't deny that. Let's look at Data3, who's our hot stock. So that sort of hopefully will be fighting back. So, it wasn't a fantastic performance, but maybe it will fight back this week, which is okay. Let's have a look what else we got. AUB, another one we've got in our portfolio. It's been doing very well for us. Let's have a look at that one. Yep. So that's, again, this is why we don't get scared on the red candles, right? So you've got a red candle here, and you think to yourself, oh my God, it's coming back. But it's the normal patterns here of some of these stocks, right? You've got a red candle, okay, followed for a couple of more weeks of down, and then it sort of bounces off the trend lines, and usually will come back, right, and sort of bounce over. So in this case, we're on an upswing right now, on a longer term upswing with maybe about a 12-month upswing. So I'm sort of looking at that pattern of go to sort of like a higher high, then a higher low, higher high, higher low. And I'm expecting that sort of similar thing here. So you can see red candle, bounce off the trend lines, red candle, bounce off the trend lines. And I'm sort of expecting the same thing, because remember, they're on at the moment, a pretty good wicket and upgrade cycle. So I'm liking that. Same thing with Steadfast, which is in the same space. So let's look at that one. You can see fairly similar. It's bouncing again, and a very similar chart as well. So that's looking positive too. Let me see what else I've got here that's for us goes quite well. Tilix, and again, every time we think it's going to you need some profits, it's still going up. 11.39 at the moment. That's pretty bullish for next week. I mean, can I say it's going to come backwards? No, I can't. I mean, it looks like it wants to go a little bit higher, even still next week. Maybe $12 will be the next, I suppose, resistance. So it's looking pretty good. Can't deny that either. That's looking, again, another good week ahead, maybe, if the markets behave themselves. Let's see what else we've got in here that's doing quite well from our sort of stories. Let's see. Goodman Group, of course, we had a good report, so that was okay. And look at that sort of should maybe go on with it. I saw some brokers today with GMG, really bullish on them. They really like it, how they come up with this upgrade again yesterday. So overall, they're seeing really positivity with GMG. So I'm pretty happy to hold that for the moment in a portfolio. And really, let's go down to the negatives now to see what's actually not doing quite well. And it's the usual suspects, I suppose. The iron ore players not doing fantastically well. So let's have a look at that. And we talked about it. Iron ore is looking not great at the moment. So we said, just to get out of it, sit on the sidelines for the moment. You see a great story, but we just got to, play these on the charts really at the end of the day. Let's see what else we've got here. We've got, I know somebody asked about ACF. So let's have a look at that. And that's, look, again, would you be worried about that? Look, it's ugly. You got to say it's ugly, and you sell to yourself, should I be selling? But it's still holding that trend line. So, unless it crosses that and gets to that 73 cents, I'd probably get out. But other than that, I'd just be patient and just believe, okay, this is just one of those market moves. It could be also, and I'll have a look in a sec, could be that they've just paid the dividend as well. So I'll have a look at that for you as well. Matter Group as well. Let's have a look. They've had a down 2%, but look at that. That's still a great chart for next week, really. So no problems there. All right, but let's have a look at this ACF. I want to see whether it's actually just paid the dividends, because that could also be, one of the issues for them. So paid on the 30th of, let's have a look. Hang on, sorry. So it goes dividends paid on the 31st of May. So they will be paying when the ex-div on the 27th. Okay, so they are going to be paid. So not sure why that sort of come back again. Like, it could be just a single seller, right? That really just playing around with it. It's had a really strong run too. So that's the other thing we've got to remember. So I'm not panicking. Relax. Let's see next week. If it's but like I said, if it keeps dropping today, by the end of the day, if it's 73 cents or something like that, maybe you go, okay, I want to take some money off the table there. Other than that, I'm holding. All right, guys, please join me for ATA today at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining me today. Have a great day. And if I don't see you on ATA, have a great weekend. Cheers. Bye.